Hello out there, and welcome to this very special season-ending edition of the Rink Moose Podcast, a weekly episodic podcast where two good friends get together and discuss all things NHL and its impact on the fantasy hockey universe. This is episode 40. We will be reviewing the end of the season, obviously the Stanley Cup final just wrapping up, as well as a moment Kyle's been waiting for the past 12 months, and that's the 2019 NHL entry draft. Kyle, explain your emotions right now.
I'm just so excited for Friday, Nick. It's like I've almost checked out of the playoffs for a while now, and I'm just ready to get these young kids on the stage. That's all I'm waiting for.
Find out who the next pizza man's going to be.
Friday's huge, and Friday will be a high-octane draft. I think there's going to be some movement because just the nature of it, the guys from 4 to 12 are all interchangeable. So some guys people will be moving around. I know we always say that. People always say there's going to be movement.
3 to 12.
Well, sure.
That picks some play.
I think
that picks some play.
Yeah. There's going to be some stuff going on, but we're really fired up for Friday.
I believe Pierre said just a few days ago the next 5 to 7 days are going to be a whirlwind of deals and shenanigans that the fans are just going to get excited about. So, should be good stuff. But without further ado, I think we start with just what the hell happened in this past 2 weeks with the final round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Stanley Cup final between the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues. It's been a while since we last had an episode because it's been a long series, 2.5 weeks, I believe. Not to mention this whole country of ours has been swept up with the basketball. As I stare at these two mooks wearing their Golden State Warrior Stay Golden t-shirts. What is this baloney?
Well, I'll have you guys know that Nick, on Game 4, Nick and I and some friends were watching the game at a friend's place.
5.
Yes, 5. 5. And Nick did not want the Raptors to win. He was cheering with all his might secretly for the Raptors to fail.
But my emotions weren't showing that.
No, he played it really well.
Was it a good sell job?
Really good sell. Like none of my
throwing
friends
the hat
could
around
tell.
the house.
Yeah, none of my friends could tell. They thought you were really upset. They're like, "Oh, I hope he's okay." But you know what? I knew from the very beginning that you didn't want this team to win, so that you could go to California.
Right,
and that's exactly what you did.
Yes. I went on a flight out to the West Coast, watched them win in Game 6 of the NBA Final, Toronto's first championship in 26 years, I believe, since the Joe Carter home run in '93. What is that? Yeah, 6 years. Yeah, amazing. So, and we were just watching as Kyle got here. I recorded the whole game. I got on national television, so I'm a celebrity now, apparently. So that's cool. So Raptors are victorious, but we've moved on from that. And NHL Final. Boston Bruins, St. Louis Blues, Game 7. I mean, where do you start? Do you even talk about the whole series, or do you just talk about Game 7?
Well, let's go 6 and 7. I'll be honest, because Boston was back up against the wall for 6, and they showed a awesome turnout. Skill galore. They took over the game. It was incredible.
See, I disagree.
No,
I don't disagree with that. I think you need to start with Game 3. Critical game, right? 1-1, best of 5 series, and young Binnington gets the hook. He gets pulled. He gets pulled for the first time in the whole playoffs. This is a moment Kyle's been craving for. How happy were you when this happened?
I loved it. I was just hoping that it was because of injury or something like that, but it wasn't.
Yeah, so there was that. That was a fiasco. Let in some weak goals for sure. Jake Allen went in, let in a goal, as he usually does.
Of course.
1 goal on 2 shots, I believe, was the stat line to end the night for young Allen. 500 save percentage.
Oh no, that's his whole playoff stat line. Exactly. 500 for 2019.
Game 4 was a very boring but contested matchup nonetheless. That was the night we had hockey that night, and I didn't want you guys to tell me the score, right? and then I came home and they won like 1-0, right?
Mm.
I don't know why. Like at the when we were getting food, you were all shocked. Like you were all happy when they won 1-0. I still don't. It was 3-2. It was a very low scoring game.
I don't know. We're talking game 4.
And Dante lied to me. Dante told me Boston won.
Oh, I
remember. Then I watched to see St. Louis win. So you guys were fucking with me the whole night.
Yeah.
But anyways, St. Louis gets their win 2-2. And then
didn't
what?
they go? No.
Yeah, it was 1-1, 1-1.
Yeah.
And then they go to 5.
Yeah.
St. Louis plays an excellent road game. Binnington bounces back. They take a 3-2 lead. And then it leads to 6. So what happened in 6, Kyle?
Well, in 6, the Boston Bruins just took over. You saw skill galore. You saw a pace of play, which I don't think they played with the entire playoffs at that point. Like, they were firing on all cylinders. Everyone on the same page. The puck was bouncing around like crazy, like lasers. It was really cool to see. And I think after that game, everyone had the Boston Bruins as favorites for Game 7. You heard it on the radio. I heard it on TSN. They're saying, how could you not have Boston? They've got the experience. They've got the pedigree. They've got the championship guys on the team. But then what we also have to take note of is Jordan Binnington, after a loss, no matter how egregious, has been excellent every single rebound chance he can get. Every single next game where he's been mooked, he's always come back with a fiery flair. So what happened in Game 7?
Well, yeah, no, I agree. It was kind of two conflicting stories. It was this goalie with an amazing bounce back potential, always wins when he comes back. And then, of course, Boston in Game 7s at home, where their record is ridiculously good, and you only look as far back as the Leaf series to see just how dominant they were in that game. So these two conflicting storylines, which one's going to win out? All the pundits are picking Boston. Vegas had them heavy favorites for the match. And, I'll be honest, I was watching this game in an airport in Denver on my little TV or my little laptop. Yeah, first period, that's all I watched. That's all I watched. And shots were like 8-1 Boston, 9-1 Boston. They were destroying the Blues. Binnington was the only guy keeping them in it. It was a horrible game for the St. Louis Blues to open the game. And then, like nothing, my boy, Ryan O'Reilly, beautiful tip-in through the legs of Rask, and it's a 1-0 lead for the Blues. And you could just tell, you could see the body language of the Bruins. They were crushed. I believe Torrey Krug just shot the puck into his own net after the O'Reilly goal. He was so furious. I mean, have you ever been on a team where you just outplayed the other team and then you get fucked on? You just get, you get scored on and it's 1-0 for the opposition?
Of course, it's a terrible feeling, deflating.
And then they come back. They're still playing great, all these generating more scoring chances, and then this bullshit happens where Brad Marchand's the last man back for the Bruins. He makes a stupid defensive attempt check on the St. Louis forward, fails miserably. He goes off for a change, doesn't even stick with the play. This looks like something on our 3-on-3 team. This is brutal defense. And the next thing you know, Peter Angelo, Dante's favorite player on the planet, that smart son of a gun, jumps into the play, sees what Marchand's up to, gets a pass, and just backhand roofs it on Rask. It was beautiful. Beautiful goal. And again, body language of the Bruins, in disbelief. You could tell. Shots were 12-4 after the first period. Tuukka Rask went 2 for 4, had a .500 save percentage.
Allen level.
Allen level. Rask even said after the game, his post-game comments, I just wanted to make one of those saves for my team, and I couldn't do it. I've been there. It's the most helpless feeling in the world when you're not taking shots the whole period, and the next thing you know, you're down 2-0 because you just didn't get to warm up. You didn't get to feel the puck.
Yes.
So I felt for them at that point. I shut off my computer, didn't watch the rest of the game.
Because you knew you couldn't finish it?
No, I just had to hop on a flight.
Right.
I was a layover. And then shortly thereafter, when I was in California, I found out that the St. Louis Blues had hung on. And I wasn't very surprised. I mean, come on. I mean, when their lead changes don't happen often in the series. They weren't happening often. Usually the first team to score would win the game. And this team had a 2-0 cushion. And I was pretty confident they'd win the game. And sure enough, they won the game.
I'm just very disappointed that you heard like that and didn't get to see it live, because it robs.
What am I going to do? Miss my flight?
No, I'm just saying I'm disappointed in the situation because it robs you of your chance to celebrate.
I saw the game. I saw the rest of the game.
Oh, you saw the last of it?
Yeah, I did.
But not live.
No, because you idiots spoiled it for me.
I didn't do it.
Andrew Bell, guy
Yeah.
who we haven't had on the show yet, spoiled the whole. He texted in our group chat, quote, "Jake Allen is a Stanley Cup champion." And when I read,
that's how you.
I was
found
mad.
out? Oh
I
my
was mad.
God.
I was mad. I
That's
didn't
so
lay it
bad.
out on him because he doesn't know what my situation was. But I was pretty cheesed.
I saw that message and I was just cringing. I was like, oh no.
And I texted Kyle specifically before the game to say no spoilers.
Yeah,
Because I'm traveling all day, I don't want to hear anything. And sure enough, Andrew Bell of all people.
You know what you should have? You should have just airplane mode.
Dante's just killing himself right here.
You should have went airplane mode until you saw in your own terms, because you knew someone was going to say something to you. It's your team.
I don't know. I had even turned off my alerts on TSN, the score, everything.
Did this sully the emotion factor of the win at all?
I mean, obviously it sucks because you want to see them win live.
Yeah.
The rest of the game is meaningless. I watched the rest of the game just to see how they shut down the Bruins. Mm-hmm. But I would have liked to watch it, biting my fingernails and be the fan in me going like, oh my God, are they going to hold on here? That's what I wanted to happen.
And jumping around and celebrating.
Of course.
With beer in your hand.
Of course.
It sucks.
Old Busch beer.
Yeah?
Only Busch beer.
Why?
Anheuser-Busch. They own the Busch Stadium there in St. Louis. But yeah, no, just regardless, my team won. Odds were against them. I heard today if you put $400 on them to win the cup, you would have won $100,000.
When? At the beginning of the year?
Start of the playoffs. Start of the playoffs.
No.
Start of the playoffs. 400.
Bullshit.
Not bullshit.
That's
what a great
load of
bet.
shit.
What a great bet.
I would
You
take
should have
that.
made that bet.
I wouldn't do 400. I'd do like 20.
Right. And you'd win whatever.
Good amount.
Pretty good
Pretty
sum.
good amount. But you know what? Ryan O'Reilly for the Conn Smythe. Do you think Binnington had a claim to that trophy at all?
I think the argument's there, right? First rookie goalie in a Stanley Cup final to win all 16 games. That stat in itself, I think, is deserving of at least a mention. But again, I'm one. You know where I stand on this. I'm one of those guys who thinks this team is so incredible defensively, so stingy. You don't need a good goalie on this team. You just need a goalie who's going to keep you in the game. And he was that. He was that until the Game 7. The Game 7, he made some remarkable saves where you had to go above average. He showed me the most of who he is in that Game 7. Until that Game 7, he was just an average goalie on a very good team, in my mind. And and after that Game 7, he elevated himself to above average goalie on this very good hockey team. And he was the best player in Game 7. But Ryan O'Reilly scored the game winner. I think if Ryan O'Reilly doesn't score that tip-in goal, I think Binnington might be your MVP.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that Game 7 was just incredible what he showed, Binnington.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching the game with some sort of invested interest in Boston winning. Not too much, but I was just like, man, oh man, this guy can't be beat right now. Absolutely can't be beat. It was like a hopeless endeavor for this team.
Absolutely.
And then, but you know what? They said something like Ryan O'Reilly scored 4 straight games in the finals, which hasn't been done since some sort of Hall of Famer. I forget who it was. And you know what? I think he just does so many little things to help this team along. And you know what? From the very beginning, he was outplaying guys like Scheifele and Bergeron and all these guys, like all the guys who are the best two-way guys in the league. He was like stride for stride.
He wasn't really
with
putting
them.
up points though.
But
he
he
didn't start scoring until that San Jose series. I was watching their whole run. Dallas, he was silent. And
how many points did he finish off with?
Like 23 in 27 games, which is great.
27 games.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
27. Wow. Okay.
I mean, they basically went 6 against 6, 7, 6, and 7.
Right.
what is that? 7, 14. It's 26 games. So, yeah, 23 and 26. So, very impressive. And there's the photo of him with the trophy. That's a great photo.
Right.
Him and Patty Maroon. Legends in St. Louis forever. Just that one of them in the plane.
You know what I did like about them winning was the huge Canadian influence, and especially Saskatchewan. Like, doesn't
of course.
it always come back, Nick, to hockey players in some time in their careers always running through a little place called Saskatoon. Like, talk to any hockey legend that who ever lived, and they always go, oh, yeah, I used to play in Saskatoon, or this one time I was running through Saskatoon, we played these guys. Like, Saskatoon and Saskatchewan in general is just kind of just this legendary area for hockey players for some unknown reason to me. But I'm just happy they got so many guys out there like Braden Shen and all those guys.
We got a little mojo going. Once we got that lead, we knew we were gonna fucking get it. Sorry, I apologize. I so amped up. I'm so sorry. We do. The boys just heard that word in hockey before. I'm terribly sorry. Okay. I apologize. But it was unbelievable. We worked so hard.
And there he is, talking after the game, so full of emotion he couldn't even hold back the F-bombs. You saw that clip, didn't you?
I did,
and
indeed.
so Canadian of him to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just very good stuff. Great care. Like, hey, if I had more money for another jersey, that's the guy right there. So,
by the way, I guess I should throw this in here. A great segment for a show topic would be who would you want? Go through every team in the league and tell me whose jersey you want from that team. If you were to have one, that'd be a great show topic, I think.
Yeah,
for a later date.
And going back to the Canadian thing, I think it was 13 or 14 players on this team are Canadian.
It's fantastic.
Well, yeah, but you fucking hate this team. You think this team's miserable. You think they're filth.
This team. I just don't. The fact that
you let
like
one
them so much,
one player dictate your whole attitude about this story.
It's not just.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
It's about Nick's favorite team, and I just don't like them. I don't know.
It's a great story.
I'm trying to find the positives in it.
You have like I said, I'll start from the beginning. You had the hometown guy scoring the game winner in Game 7 against Dallas, Patty Maroon. Great story. Jaden Schwartz, sister passes away through cancer, wins the cup for her. Thorburn, his father passed away just a year ago, wins the cup for him. Just these remarkable stories. The Lila Anderson, the cancer survivor who was following the team throughout the whole playoffs. This is great.
Oh.
The little girl.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Sure.
You don't get this, like those Penguins teams of yours, they didn't have stories like this.
Come on, man. Don't do that.
They didn't.
I'm telling you what. Every time a team wins the cup, I get emotional. Okay? When they're lifting the cup, I get emotional. Hearing Pietrangelo talk in front of the cameras saps my emotion right from my fucking brain, man. It sucks. The guy's just dry as a fucking beanstalk.
What are you talking about? You talking about CBC?
He was dry as shit.
Was this CBC?
I don't know. No, I was watching the American
with
one until
Pierre.
I switched over.
So was it the one with...
He was talking to Pierre.
It was a very good interview.
No! He was just like,
what do you mean? He was out. He was like out of breath. He was out of breath. He was so full of emotion.
Nick, I didn't... Come on, man.
Seriously?
He didn't show me any sort of I wanted to see. I didn't like it. How dare you talk about him like that?
Here's a funny thing.
He's just so dry.
Here's a funny thing about, speaking of Pietrangelo, when he scored the 2-0 goal, the backhand. I heard people on the internet were joking around when he scored. He should have done like a leap in the air, like Bobby Orr.
No,
and replicated the Bobby Orr jump.
Oh my God!
At the TD Garden.
That would have been too much.
That would have been awesome.
No. You can't do that. That would have been nasty.
But yeah, anyways.
But once again, and it seems like a yearly occurrence, the away team wins the cup. Yeah. Always happens. It's always won in the away building. When's the last time?
So much sweeter though, isn't it?
Nah.
Backs against the wall, fans chanting against you, no one's giving you a shot.
I don't know, man.
And like a underdog bulldog, you just go in there and fight out a win, just like the Raptors did in Golden State.
There's too much bad stuff about it. Like the home team's sad. They paid their money. They didn't get what they wanted. And then the winning team has to party in an away city instead of amongst their fans. It's just kind of lame. Like you going to California. I was on the streets of Toronto, you know? I was with the people.
I'm saying from a player perspective, winning on the road must be satisfying. We can't put ourselves in those shoes.
Because then the building's
There's
empty.
20,000 fans chanting against you, and you get to wipe the smile off their face.
No, Nick.
Yes.
Nick, you have a pessimistic attitude. If I'm lifting the cup, I want to see a full arena. I don't want to see the lower quarter of the fucking thing full. I want to see a full arena.
You get that at the parade. You get that at the parade.
I want to lift the cup and people chant my freaking name. I don't want this bullshit where I'm looking at a couple schmucks who overpaid for a fucking plane ticket who came over to watch, or they just moved to fucking wherever they're living. I don't like this. I want to see the home team win. Mm-hmm. I wish if it was St. Louis that they were to win at home, because then they could it would be better. It would be much, much, much better.
Well, regardless, they got their parade. And quite a parade it was. We were just watching clips before this episode of great moments.
Born Byram!
No, not that moment. We'll get to that later. But
I'm going to insert that every so often,
I know.
By the way.
Anyways, Jordan Binnington on a little road bike, going down the street as everyone's chanting his name. Jake Allen on an old fire truck with his family, shotgunning Bud Lights. Just awesome moments. Tarasenko signing the jersey of a young fan there, interacting with the fans. Just an amazing parade. Everyone getting into it. Craig Berube getting sloshed.
Oh, yeah.
All the alumni getting sloshed. Fans, old and young. I mean, I read great articles about this team. Like, this team has been without a cup for so long. I literally read an Athletic article about this guy burying his father in a Blues jersey because he never got to see them win a cup. He was cheering from his grave as they won the other day.
That's enough.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, it's kind of an isolated case, but
just little things like that. Little things like that. I want you to cheer for this team.
I'm just surprised that made it out to public knowledge.
No, this was a main writer.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm glad everyone got what they wanted. All the fans, including myself, got this win that, I'll be honest, a lot of us probably didn't even see coming. I was just happy to see them get into the playoffs after that atrocious start. But
terrible. I was laughing at you.
I mean, there was a point mid-season where you gave up on this team, you had them gone, and I said, you know what? A part of me thinks they could sneak into this second wild card, and I inserted them into my standings, and sure enough, they did get in. They were a division team, and I never lost faith with this team. You can't say I did, and even when I wavered and I had Boston maybe having the edge, maybe having the edge, I ended up finalizing my pick with St. Louis. So, good stuff. Now just San Jose is the last piece of the puzzle, and then I'll be all happy. So,
don't count on it.
Don't count on it, eh?
I know. I already paid you out for losing the bet.
And here's my other opinion, and I brought this up earlier. I brought up the argument: why does the regular season matter? It's baloney.
Sure. Yeah.
This team was last place in January. So do the first 3 months of the season mean anything? You can be last and win the cup. Okay, I remember depressing Mike Yeo press conferences in November.
Right.
We went from there to this.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Doesn't this make Mike Yeo just look like a fucking clown?
Because he had he had a championship team the whole time. But they made no trades. They made no additions. Like, this was the team, and it was last place.
It's crazy. crazy. So his name is sullied, but
does he go on the cup? Does his name go on the cup?
Oh God, no.
Even though he was on the team for
I think it's active roster at the beginning of the playoffs. I think, right? That would make sense.
I'd like to know, but I don't know.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, well, he would never get on the Cup.
Does he get a ring?
No, he does not.
Okay.
There's no way he does.
I don't know.
In fact, if he had any shred of honor, even if he did get a ring, he wouldn't
I
take
heard
it.
stuff in basketball about how Jonas Valanciunas is going to get a ring now.
Bullshit.
I heard about that. They were
then
talking
everyone
on
gets
Overdrive.
a ring. I get a ring.
Yeah.
You get a ring.
I know. It's
You ref the
ridiculous.
game. Why don't
I
you get
need
a
to
ring?
know. I want to get these facts. How do you get a ring?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
All right.
Okay, but regardless, have we gone long enough about the Blues?
Oh, way too long.
Way too long. Hey, it was much deserved. They deserve their time. And again, congratulations to the St. Louis Blues. Overcame the odds. Stanley Cup
Did you
champions.
shed a tear?
Again,
Wow.
if Andrew Bell doesn't spoil the game,
Fuck you, Andrew.
I probably shed a tear.
Oh no.
But I didn't.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I hope he's listening right now.
I hope he is too. He's going to regret this for the rest of his life.
You're gonna make sure.
Oh
of that,
yeah.
eh?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
All right. Now's the time I'm going to turn things over to our what do they call Craig Button at TSN? The expert of amateur scouting or director of
yeah.
scouting, Craig Button.
Right.
We're going to go to Rink Moose's version of Craig Button, who's been following these players in this 2019 entry draft for a good 12 months since the last. Right? Am I right in saying that, or am I just boosting you?
Not 12, 8.
8 months. Okay. I'm just going to chime in every so often. I'll be honest.
Now hold on.
I didn't even want to make a rankings because it would just have no credibility whatsoever. I've just been playing Crash Course these last 2 weeks, just reading all these excellent articles on The Athletic. But I'm going to turn things over to Kyle. He made a big board here. Kyle Nice's big board. This is like the Holy Grail, the Bible of mock drafts. So why don't you let the fans know what's coming up?
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go 1 to 16 because after 16, I stopped caring as much, and it would just get a little lengthy, let's be honest. But ideally, what I'd like to do is I'd like to say my pick. What I'm going to do is give you an NHL comparable. I'm going to give you a scouting report, a couple little tidbits here and there if there's some relevant info or something that I think would be interesting to note. And then I'm going to give you the team perspective, why the team would draft this player. But ideally, I'd want to go, after every pick, I'd want you, my friend Nick, to chime in on this player that I mentioned and give your thoughts on whatever you can. So as I was saying, Nick, I'm
Just killing time here, eh? Waiting for me to get back with my beer. All right.
Son of a bitch. So as I said, I'm going to go through all the shit I just told the folks.
Great,
That
thank
was
you.
yours, eh?
Yeah, I just brought a beer for myself.
Okay, well, mine's out.
He wants his sip of Youngling.
Basically, Nick,
This draft segment of our episode is brought to you by Youngling Lager,
don't give him that.
the oldest brewery
They haven't paid
in
us.
America. All right, go on.
So basically what I was telling them, I'm going to tell them everything I'm going to tell them about the player, and then I'm going to have you give your 2 cents
my
on
tidbits,
each
my tidbits.
player.
Yeah.
On each player.
Yeah, let's do this.
So starting at the top of the draft, New Jersey Devils draft number 1 overall. I'm going to waddle up to the stage, and I'm going to clear and concise Jack Hughes. Okay?
That's all you say? You just walk up and say, Jack Hughes.
Just like when Jack
Buffalo.
Eichel... Buffalo selects Jack Eichel. Okay, so... Player comparable. Jack Hughes is a Patrick Kane, but with more emphasis on the skating rather than the hands. While not currently the best player in the draft at this very moment, he has the highest ceiling. While I don't prefer my number 1 center on my team to be quite this small, Jack Hughes will be amongst the most creative, elusive, and tricky players in the league in the next 3 years. He comes from a thoroughbred family. We've seen Quinn Hughes and soon Luke Hughes.
Trained by Pierre Maguire.
Absolutely.
As I said, Pierre Maguire taught his mother how to skate.
That's
his
a
mother
load of
gave
shit.
birth to Jack.
That is
Pierre
a
has a role to play in this family.
load of shit.
Go on.
But essentially, this family knows how to breed hockey players. As weird as that sounds, they know exactly what to do. And I'll give you a little tidbit on how they came about. Jack Hughes, Mr. America, has been training in Canada since he was 13 years old. Ever since he realized he was a legitimate NHL talent, he moved over to the GTA, where he went and trained at a place in I think in Vaughan, and then he went and played in the GTA AAA. So, with that said, the Devils will have a really talented 1-2 punch at center with Hischier and Hughes, but just outlook on this Devils team, I don't like the makeup of having my two top centers pretty well small. You know, your two top centers are pretty much under 6 feet, which is kind of. I mean, he's a great player, and I said highest ceiling in the draft, but this is a little concerning to me. I don't know what are your thoughts on Hughes and the Devils taking him at 1?
Yeah, I mean, I see all you described him pretty well. If anything, I just say he looks fragile. He just looks fragile on the ice, like he can't take a hit.
He's a little boy.
When he gets hit, he goes flying. He's like as light as a feather by the looks of it.
He's like 160
pounds.
pounds.
No muscle whatsoever.
No.
He's got to step up. He's got to build some muscle, get in the gym, take some of those protein shakes, and get going. Because he's got great skill, amazing skater, best skater in the draft, bar none.
And you know what? He's never going to be a big player. He's never going to be a stocky player. Like guys like Crosby's 5'11", but he's a stocky 5'11". He can handle himself because he weighs 200 pounds, sometimes more. Hughes will never be 200 pounds.
He can't just put on 30 pounds.
He will never be, because he'll lose his quickness. Like Hughes is Hughes because he's elusive and he's agile and he can disappear almost like a mirage.
So does this look like a very skilled but injury-riddled player in your mind? Is this a guy who you're not going to want to own in fantasy because he's getting injured every single season?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would just say he's going to play a certain way that he won't be great in the corners. He might be okay along the boards, but when playoff hockey gets tight and intense, I just don't know what we're gonna see when the going gets tough. Now I think he's got the skating and the hands to accommodate for these size issues, just like Caulfield, which we'll get into later. But as a playmaker, as a centerman, it's just not what I want as my, especially considering Hischier isn't huge. You know, it's just not what I love as my number one guy being 5'10", 165, you know. Now that being said, obviously the talent's through the roof. He could be a 100-point player. Bar none, he could be a 100-point player. So no problem with the pick there. And New Jersey's, they're going to take their time here. They're not picking this guy so they can win next year or the year after that. They're picking this guy for the next 15 years. So good on them. That's the number one pick.
And why are you saying he's not the best right now?
Because of the next player. I mean, currently. Like, if you were to place both these guys,
his ceiling's higher, but he's not as good right now.
Correct.
Okay.
If we were to talk about NHL 19 rankings, I'd say Hughes is like an 83 with franchise potential, and Kakko's an 85 with elite potential.
Okay.
All right, so let's get into New York Rangers. Kakko, number 2. NHL comparable, a prime-time Rick Nash. So Rick Nash in his prime, if you remember this guy, he was a do-it-all, incredible power forward. This guy could shoot, pass, use his body to work his will. He had crazy hands. Try to forget about the latter half of his career because it wasn't very, very great. But there was a time where Rick Nash was a top player in this league. Kakko is currently the best player in this draft. Currently, he's similar to the second coming of Rick Nash. Great body, and most importantly, knows how to use it. At the World Champs, he was out-muscling veteran NHL defenseman, a.k.a. Ryan Suter, in games below the goal line. With ease, might I add. Couple his power forward style with a good shot, excellent vision. He's the total package. He's going to be a lethal weapon for this Rangers team, who, by the way, has conducted a masterful rebuild since they released that statement. He's a winger, first and foremost, but I think he can transition to center if need be. He has played center at points in this year. He's a true cornerstone for this rebuild. This New York Rangers team, the center of hockey in America, the number one franchise in the USA, is going to be leaning on Capo Caco to lead this team to championships. And this guy, he's legit. Like, I didn't really fully understand until I saw the World Championships, and I saw he was one of the best players at the World Championships. Like, he was better than Austin Matthews was when he played in his draft year. It's insane what he was able to do there. So I am excited at this, and he's going to be a star as soon as next year. He might be a 65 plus next year.
Yeah, from everything I hear, he's NHL ready, so he's going to be able to slot right in and help a team. Most likely the Rangers if they don't muck this up.
Oh, they're
And all I had to see was just these plays. He'd straight up be on the boards, cradling the puck. A guy would be coming towards him to check like the puck off him, and Kako would do one of those hits where like your torso is towards the boards, but you almost back check the guy.
Reverse,
wow, this is like Peter Forsberg.
Yeah,
this could be the next Peter Forsberg, and I'm like, this is unreal. So yeah, I heard the character's great. He checks all the boxes. He just looks complete. What is he? 6'4"?
Maybe 6'3".
6'3".
But he's a big guy.
He's going to be able to play at an elite level, but he's also got the build to have longevity in his career, which I can't quite say about Hughes yet. I'm not ready to say that. So I like the player, but again, I see why he's not going 1 because he just doesn't have this remarkable skating ability that Hughes has. And me as a scout, I value skating as my number 2, right behind character. When evaluating a talent. So
character number 1.
Character number 1, which Hughes seems to lack. Just seems like a spoiled brat every time he's taking interviews. Hopefully he grows out of it. It's not a good look right now, but time will tell.
Not a very humble kid.
No, just kind of full of himself.
Yes.
So hopefully the personality grows, but that's how I see this kind of 1-2 duel.
Which I don't blame him for, because I mean, picture any of us how we would be if we had been followed since we were 14.
Sure, but like his brother seems a lot more mature.
Sure, I guess, but
he's only a year older, but he just seems better with the media, more humble.
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps less of a spotlight, but cocky kid.
Yeah,
just
can't say that about his brother. Can't say that about his brother. I don't know if it's the number 1 overall getting to his head, but
fair enough.
We'll see.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, it's not like I'm evil. Like, I want him to tear his ACL and lose his career, but like, I want him to grow as a person.
And the New York Rangers do have the easiest spot in this entire draft.
We could draft for them.
Oh, easy.
We could fly to Vancouver and replace their whole scouting staff and not screw up this pick.
Exactly. You just have to take the other guy.
They're going to run up to the stage and yell the 2 words,
Capo Caco.
It's going to be great. So
they're set. Yeah. Like, they're going to be good very, very, very soon. But where you headed?
I'm getting you here.
Okay, good. So many would consider that the draft starts at 3 because this is where things get interesting and things start taking shape. So there's been a lot of talk about this pick, but the Chicago Blackhawks will select Alex Turcotte. Now, what's interesting about this is that they don't necessarily need a center. They've got Taves, who actually put up a career year last year. They've also got Dylan Strome, who turned out to be a gem in their second center position. So you're thinking, why would I want to draft a centerman who would seemingly push Strome to the wing or to the third center? Well, truth be told, he's probably the 3rd best player in this draft. He's extremely complete, and he's born and raised in Chicago, which is a huge factor for them. He had an injury-plagued season, but when he did play, he was lights out. Absolutely lights out, right behind Jack Hughes. He's easily the most complete two-way forward of the draft. Now that's highlighted by his goal differential, which was crazy when he was on the ice compared to his peers. Essentially, when he was on the ice, no one was scoring against him. He's a smart player with no real deficiencies. And for an NHL comparable, I think a really solid comparable here would be a Jonathan Toews, but with slightly more skill, pure skill. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Toews in his prime or anything like that in terms of winning potential, but he plays like a Jonathan Toews with more skill. So, Nick, we just did Alex Turcotte at number 3 for Chicago.
I really like this player. The second I read about his compete level, I want him on my team. Me wearing this LA Kings jersey proudly right now, I would happily take this player. Him and another player, the two that I specifically want. I loved everything I read about how he doesn't give up on a play. How he has this just tenacious attitude about him. How he has an overall game, can be a number 1 center. Just checks all the boxes. I'd be more than happy to have this player on my team. Watch some interviews. Seems to have good character. Yeah, no complaints with Alex Turcotte. To me, it's just the mind-boggling game of where does he go. You know, this is the critical part of the draft. We know Chicago, they've drafted a lot of defensemen of late. I think it was in the past 2 rounds, like the first 2 rounds in the past few years, they've drafted something like 5 defensemen. I don't know where the hell these guys are. Are these just awful draft picks? Because I haven't seen them come up yet.
They're coming later.
I sure hope so.
I sure hope
it's not
so
a good
too.
look right now.
No.
And maybe they go, well, fuck it, we've screwed up to this point, so let's just take Boland Byram, you know, and the easy pick, right?
That's very
He's a pretty
possible.
easy pick because
Yes.
you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
This guy, to me, has a teeny bit more of a risk.
Little
Here's
bit
my
more.
question for you. Lots of similarities between this and the McDavid draft. Not the draft itself, but these first 3, you know? Because you
Okay.
have 2 consensus franchise guys.
Yeah.
Eichel, McDavid, Hughes, Kakko. What are the odds of this guy turning into another pizza man, Dylan Strome?
Oh. I don't see it, man. Dylan, I don't see it. I really don't. And I talked about Dylan earlier because obviously Dylan's now in Chicago.
3rd overall pick, just like that, right?
Yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, this guy, he just seems to have his head on straight. Like we said, the compete level's there, the character's there. He's an amazing two-way guy. Like, he's probably the most complete forward of this entire draft. Like I mentioned earlier, his goal differential is insane. I compared him to a Jonathan Toews, but with a little bit more skill, perhaps not the same defensive acumen. But this guy, to me, he's as close as a surefire pick as anyone not named Jack Hughes and Kakko in terms of reaching at or close to their potential. So I don't see this as a pizza man situation. The only thing here is his injuries. He had an injury-plagued season. And he didn't play too much, but when he did play, he was lights out. So there is that slight concern there, but I don't think you have to factor that in too much when you're considering this pick.
And I just love this quote. Again, this is Corey Pronman, Kyle's arch nemesis on The Athletic, who's been doing a great job leading up to this draft. Quote, "It's not just his speed and skill that stand out, but his compete level is elite. Turcotte is the kind of forward who can dangle around defensemen, blow by them, or drive his way through them. He gets to the net consistently and without fear. He battles for pucks as hard as anyone and typically wins them, even at 5'11". Just how do you not want that guy? You want that guy on your team, Dante? There you go.
Yeah, very, very solid. That being said, if Chicago does take the defenseman,
Then he's going to Colorado.
then Colorado's running to the stage because they need their 2C. So let's get to Colorado. This might be a controversial pick. In fact, I think it is for most people. I've got from the Saskatoon Blades, Kirby Dach. NHL comparable, Dante, do you know who it is? It's Ryan Getzlaf. Kirby Dach is the second coming of Christ, a.k.a. Ryan Getzlaf. So I'll give you the quick... Actually, you know what? Let me get into why first. Obviously, Byram is the best player available. He's the safest pick available at this spot. But we talked about it earlier. Colorado has one glaring need. They're really solid everywhere. They have one glaring need. They've got defensemen out the wazoo. They just saw Makar turn into a beautiful butterfly in front of their very eyes. Girard is a crazy offensive defenseman. They still have got Barrie. Connor Timmins, who everyone's forgotten about, was the MVP at the World Juniors 2 years ago. This guy is coming along. They've still got Zadorov. The defense is set. We don't need another defense. If they were to grab him, sure, you turn your blue line into a franchise blue line, a
or you
dynasty
trade him,
blue
or you
line.
trade him.
Sure, but that's kind of bad. It's just a bad look on the team. What you need most in Colorado is a 2C. Some guy behind Nathan McKinnon who can drive that second line, who can really turn your threat into a multifaceted threat. Kirby Dach, let me just give you a quick scouting report here. Kirby Dach may have actually the second highest ceiling in the draft if he lives up to his full potential. His raw skills are that good. I'm really, really high on this guy. He's got a massive body, 6'4", 195 pounds, incredible hands you just don't see on a big guy. His vision is very hard to find. He's a playmaker first, just like Getzlaf, but he has a sneaky good shot. If you were to use the shot more, I guarantee he'd score more goals. He had a mid-season dip in production, which is why he fell out of a consensus top 4. That lasted about 10 games, and he's criticized, obviously, for that, for not being quite mean enough, and obviously the consistency. He's got that big body again, but sometimes he doesn't use it to his advantage, which he's going to have to learn to do if he's going to reach his potential. But this guy's a rink rat, Nick. He's a hockey diehard, and he's got a ceiling like crazy. So I think he's got the ability to. He's a very coachable kid. He's able to work for it, and just a good guy overall. Couple little tidbits. His skating will never be his strongest attribute. He's a fine skater. It will improve. It will translate. But he's never going to be scoring, crazy goals off the rush. If Colorado drafts this guy, he's their legit 2C. He'll make this team dynasty-level quality if he matures properly. If he turns into the horse, the Getzlaf guy on the second line, good luck, NHL. Good luck. Because you're playing with fire now. This guy could be that good.
I really enjoyed watching the clips of this player. To pull off the stuff he can do, the playmaking, the scoring at that size is impressive. Usually these big guys, it doesn't translate. The skill part of the game doesn't translate. These guys who can't skate extremely well, it just doesn't translate. But the hockey IQ, the playmaking, this is a guy who can man your power play on the point. He can also screen the goalie in front of the net. He can play anywhere on a power play, a 5-tool player. I was a fan watching him. And, quotes like this from his head coach in Saskatoon only reinforce that. Quote, he's a student of the game. He's got a very high hockey IQ. His playmaking ability is second to none. There aren't many 6'4", 200-pound, 17-year-old players who can play center the way he can. Just good things all across the board. I know I value skating a lot, and he, obviously, as you mentioned, he's a slightly above-average skater. Nothing more than that. So that'll be the most interesting part of his development. What I'll be keeping my eye on the most. But comparisons to Ryan Getzlaf, I mean, they don't just give those away. Those aren't freebies. So you got to read into that. And as an LA Kings fan, I'd be happy to have this guy as my third pick, my third choice of those guys.
And how do you not run up to the draft board when you see a 6'4", fucking 195 centerman who's got the skills like he does? This guy is valuable beyond belief. But again, a lot of people would be, tilting their brow because it's not Bowen Byram.
Well, and not just that. I mean, I'm looking at Pronman right now. He's got him as his 10th ranked skater.
Yeah.
10.
Again,
and he's dropping Edmonton, some people are saying.
Yeah. That mid-season dip makes him a polarizing figure because people are saying if he can go 10 games with 2 fucking points or 15 games with 2 points, then what the hell are we drafting here? But who knows what that was about? Maybe a personal matter, but I'll tell you this: the beginning of the year he was lights out. The latter part of the year he was lights out. The playoffs he played through an injury. The stats weren't quite up to par, but playing through that injury, he was lights out. So this guy has that second gear. He's got he's got the character to work on his game, and I trust that he's going to find his level.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Number 5, and you'll be pleased with your little LA Kings jersey that you're wearing right now. The LA organization will run to the stage and pick up the gift that's been left for them. Now, perhaps they didn't want a defenseman per se when they went into this draft, maybe a more skilled, speedy kind of forward. But they're going to take Bowen Byram as the gift that fell onto their lap. I see Byram as a Morgan Riley type, but better in his defensive zone. So he's got that potential to be a 60-plus point
Drew Doughty.
guy. Yeah, a Drew Doughty type and a great defender. One scout said he was the best defenseman to come out of the WHL since Scott Niedermayer. In fact, he's the first guy to score that many goals in a long, long time. That might be a stretch, but Byram is certainly the best defenseman of this draft by a mile. Incredibly, he led all players in points in the WHL playoffs. All players, not defensemen, players, where he got all the way to the finals. He pretty much has it all. Excellent acceleration, elusive hands, great vision, but also surprisingly good nose for the net, which is not too common for a defenseman. He's got the ability to get shots through from the point and pinch extremely intelligently when necessary. Like, the guy had 26 goals. He had more goals than Kirby Dach, who I just took at number 4. He had more goals than him, and he's a defenseman. It's uncanny, his ability to put the puck in the net from the blue line. But just a little tidbit here, he's a chatty, confident kid. I wouldn't call him arrogant like the Hughes, but he's got a pride to him that isn't quite arrogant. He knows he's going to be excellent. He has a lot of confidence in his abilities, and he probably will. He's going to rest under the wing of Drew Doughty, learn a lot from him, and learn a lot on the ice, but hopefully not on the ice, off the ice from Drew Doughty, because I know he's a prick.
No, and speaking of Drew Doughty, reports out of LA is that he's influencing this move. He's making them choose Bowen Byram. Really? He's calling the shots. Not surprised to hear that.
So is Pierre.
Apparently, yeah. But we'll see. I'm still not convinced he drops to 5. There's always that cautious, pessimistic part of myself, which thinks a smirking Joe Sakic's going to go up to that stage and rob us of Bowen Byram, or Chicago with they're with Bowman. He's gonna rob him of us. So I'm still cautiously pessimistic that he'll go 3 or 4. But if he does go down to 5, then I'll be happy to know that I got Pierre's favorite player on my team.
Let me tell you this. Just with my insider knowledge and the certain podcast that I listen to, you have more of a chance of losing him to Chicago than Colorado. Colorado will not take him. He's not in consideration. So you can take that with...
All right. Well, then we'll see what happens, because I like the clips I saw from him when I heard Morgan Riley and Doughty comparisons.
Yeah.
Scott Niedermayer was very happy to hear that. The character seems fine to me, checks that box.
He does it all. He's everything. Literally everything.
Safe pick. If you're a scout, you want to keep your job for the next few years, just take Bowen Byram.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. This is why I know LA will take him if he's still around. We have picks 5, 22, and 33. Okay? The parity between the forwards in this draft is a lot more present than the parity between defensemen. This guy is above and beyond the best defenseman in this draft, which means if he's still there, you take him. And then with 22 and 33, you go forwards, because the parity there from like 12 to 22 doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'll happily take him 5, and with 22 take a Suzuki or a Raph Lavoie.
Oh, there's easily going to be a Raph Lavoie.
Exactly. I'll take Raph Lavoie 22 if I get Borum at 5, of course. So, and then at 33, I'll get another forward who's decent, who just slid out of the first round. So I'm laughing if I'm fortunate enough to get Bowen Byram, and let's see what happens here.
Now, one last thing on him. He's not quite as pure dynamic as a Cale Makar.
No, he's not a sexy pick.
Like he'll make the safe play more than the fancy play, but he still has the capability to put serious points up. So it's kind of weird that you see this guy and nothing jumps off the page in terms of skills. His acceleration's great. It's not like he's a burner by any means, but his first 3 steps are elite. And then other than that, he's just a very, very smart player, and he can pretty well do it all. But let's go to number 6 at Detroit. This is an interesting, you're going to love my comparable. Detroit takes center/winger Trevor Zegras.
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 So according to Pierre, it's Trevor Zegras.
Not Zegras.
Zegras.
Okay.
Get used to it.
Sorry, Pierre. And sorry, Trevor. NHL comparable. This is actually spot on, by the way. This is absolutely spot on.
Go ahead.
No one can contest this. Pre-NHL Jonathan Drouin. Pre-NHL, when Jonathan Drouin was up for the draft, he was exactly this player. I'm telling you right now, Jonathan Drouin would have been Trevor Zegras if he was in this draft. Let me explain. Zegras is probably right up there with Hughes in terms of creativity and straight wow factor. For much of the same reasons I fell in love with Jojo, Zegras seemingly has that sixth sense for the game, and he's an ultimate creator. His hockey sense appears to be very high because he makes dangerous plays look like money. But like Drouin is learning, making those cute, dangerous plays does not always work in the NHL. Zegras is smart and gifted, but has work to do in ironing out the cutesy part of his game if he's going to reach his ceiling, which I believe is something like a point-per-game winger. So Detroit crushed last year's draft, and getting Zegras would be a good way to improve on their good fortunes. Some scouts have him all the way at 3. Some scouts actually have Chicago in contention to take this guy because he's just that impressive. He can play center or wing, and I think he'll complement Larkin very well. I think he's more of a winger, to be honest. But to me, the Drouin comparable is right there. Like if you go back to the tapes, you've got Bob McKenzie saying, best hands in the draft, best hockey sense. Like we all knew what he was. He was a fancy wizard with the puck.
But he was a good skater, Drouin.
Yes.
Zegras can't skate.
Well, there you go.
He's a 50 ranked skater
can
by
skate.
Pronman. He's an average skater.
He can-
That's all Pronman's saying.
Okay. Well,
average.
the other parts
Drouin
of
was
his
an
game.
above average skater. He still is.
Now these days, I don't think Drouin's a great skater.
Back then, when he was with Tampa, he was running all over the ice.
Yes, he was. He's gotten slower. Yeah.
So I see everything else, but not the skating. That's why I raised my eyebrow.
But this is why I think Zegras has some work to do. Like when Pronman gives him the highest hockey IQ in the fucking draft, then I get a little skeptical.
75. Yeah.
I get very skeptical because I was saying all these things about Jonathan Drouin, and everything from his junior playing career was absolutely on par with this guy. Wizard with the puck. He can see guys without even looking. He finds guys with like his highlight package is going to be the stuff of legends. But guess what? Like he's going to need a lot of coaching. And from what I gather, Nick, now get this, he had a terrible interview. From what I gather, he came off very cocky, even more so than Hughes, like, yeah, I'm the shit kind of thing. He came off very poor in the interviews. So character problems like Jojo. And you know what? I think this guy would be tough to coach because think of, we all played hockey. Think of the guy, the best guy on your team, the cocky prick, and how easy was he to coach? No, he was very tough to coach. So I don't love this as a Gross kid. He can go to Detroit and do whatever the fuck he will, but I don't love him as a player.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is, I don't really know much about his character, but just watching the clips, these were the most creative plays I saw out of any player in this draft. These backhand 360 passes, no look feeds, like they make.
But this doesn't fly in the NHL.
No, that's the
Jojo
problem.
learned that the hard way. John Cooper slapped him on the wrist. He said, "Don't you fucking try this."
It may not be translatable into the NHL, and that's the concerning part. And we'll see. I mean, Yeah, he looks great now. It looks like a sexy pick right now. I'm sure those Detroit fans will be jumping out of their seats when they make this selection, if they do make this selection. But I agree, not as translatable a game as a Doc or a Turcotte or a Byram. So,
One more thing.
but you can say the ceiling's high. Like if you can make
for
it,
sure.
the
For
ceiling's high.
Yeah,
It's
it's polarizing because he could be right up there.
Mm-hmm.
He could be right up there as a fantastic.
This is a
player.
guy who quarterbacked a power play with Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield, that U.S. NT DP team, right?
The best they've ever
best
put together.
they've ever put together.
Ever in
And
their
this
whole
man
lives.
was the quarterback of that team.
Yeah, I mean that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, something.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to Boston University next year, and from what I've heard, that program has collapsed. Every single talented player has left that program, so he's going to a very poor, very starving Boston University program. Since Jack Eichel left, it's been going downhill, and that's all I'll say. So his development next year will be iffy.
So him and Turcotte are not playing in the NHL next year.
Turcotte's going to Wisconsin.
Yes.
He's going to be. You want
With
them,
Granado. He's going to be with Tony Granado.
Zegras, you want 2 years in the NCAA. I think Turcotte, you want 1.
Whereas Hughes, Kako,
Hughes will
Byram
be-
are
yeah.
right in.
Byram, he's probably NHL ready, but it's definitely up to the team to decide. Like they could send him back even knowing that he's NHL ready, and that wouldn't be a bad decision. Let him play in the World Juniors for Christ's sakes, kind of thing. But that's Zegras.
Let's move
there.
on.
Number 7, Buffalo selects Cole Caulfield.
Nice. Good pick.
Got to do it. NHL comparable, simply and plain. He's a small Ovechkin. Pure goals from everywhere, goals from his goal line, goals from the ceiling. Caulfield is tiny, but he has all the tools necessary to be an annual 40-goal guy, maybe even 50 some years. He can load up on the power play in that traditional spot. He can score on the rush and score in tight. If he were larger, he would easily be top 4, without question. When the going gets tough, he has excellent hands and feet to make up for his lack of size. He's super elusive. When I did see him play at the U18s, his hands really impressed me. I thought he was just kind of a shoot kind of guy, but this guy can seriously handle the puck too. Interesting to note, and everyone listen close, he comes from a Canadian family. Both his father and his grandfather were players, not in the NHL, but they played pro, and they were born in Sault Ste. Marie. So he's a dual citizen. He just he grew up in the States, probably because his father met an American woman. But consider Caulfield born a Canadian and raised American. This man lining up beside Jack Eichel is a sinister request. Sinister. Those two can make some serious red light magic happen. Even lining up on the second line with Middlestat / Reinhardt for a couple of years would make. Now this is a hot take. If he were to line up anywhere in this top 6, with all these pieces in place, Skinner, Eichel, Middlestat, Reinhardt, plug in whoever you want. I think this top 6 is as lethal as the Maple Leafs top 6.
I mean, that's saying a lot, given how much scrutiny this organization's under right now.
Yeah.
We just saw Jeff Skinner get something like $9 million a year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous for Jeff Skinner. This was a guy who had concussion issues in Carolina. His career was almost over.
I'm just talking about the top 6 in terms of talent.
I'm just saying, hey, Middlestat hasn't really come into fruition yet.
He'll be good.
And Skinner, they're criticizing for this pick. This is $18 million, $19 million between Eichel and Skinner. That's your core.
That's bad.
Are you kidding me?
That's very
We have
bad.
Matthews and Marner, and they have Skinner and Eichel. That's dusty.
Now, I don't know how long we're going to have Marner.
That's their 2 highest paid players. They can't pay anyone more than that.
Well, hold on, Nick.
I know Dahlin's going to be a star.
Matthews makes 11.6. Marner's about to make 11.5.
He's not. Maybe he'll get 9.
He won't.
We
get
don't know
9.
yet. We
He
don't know
won't
yet.
get 9.
Hometown discount.
The Marner camp is insistent on getting Matthews money.
We'll see.
The entirety of everyone knows they're steadfast on Matthews.
Point is, this,
they're gonna be
this
22
duo, this
million.
bromance Eichel Skinner. It's no Kucherov Stamkos. It's no Bergeron Marchand. It's no Matthews Marner. Buffalo, get out of here. This is your grand plan, locking this guy to $9 million. You better make a good pick here, or else this management team, this Jason Botterill, you're done.
It's bad.
You got this is a lot of pressure riding on this pick.
With this Caulfield pick, it's so much a sure thing that he's a goal scorer, Nick. I went back into his past and I looked for every little thing to pick on. He's put up fucking goals on goals since he was 7
but
years
he's
old.
playing with kids. He's gonna play with grown men.
But
Dante, this guy's 5'7", 157. That's a featherweight.
He's tiny, but he's so slippery.
I don't care. Is he
score.
slippery against Dano Chara? We'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Chara will never catch.
One thing I will give him, and I can't take this away from him, is this generational shot.
Yes.
Just like Zegras' playmaking, this shot made me leap out of my seat. This guy has this ability to just place his stick on the puck, and literally in half a second can slingshot it to the top corner every single time. I've never seen anything like this. And from such a little guy, it's crazy how much velocity he gets on the shot. Quote is, he's one of the best goal scorers to become eligible for the draft in recent years. Caulfield's shot is special. There's plenty of snipers out there, but Caulfield's wrist shot technique is like a slingshot. He gets control of the puck and fires it 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Can you define hyperbole for me? The fuck is that shit?
I'm just saying.
1,000,000 miles a second.
I'm just saying, watching these clips, I believe in the shock grade by Corey Pronman, a perfect 80 out of 80. And he does not give that out.
Generational
Shot. And this will be interesting to see how this translates to the NHL.
Him and Eichel could be serious money for many, many, many years. Now, if you take, forget Jeff Skinner. Him and Eichel, okay. Like, if I didn't have Buffalo, I took Buffalo there. If he didn't go to Buffalo, damn right he's going to Edmonton.
So you're going to have Dahlin on one point, Eichel at the top of one circle, and the Caulfield at the top of another circle? Wow.
Load him up. Holy shit. And then Sam Reinhart's the smart net
Up
front guy.
And then you got someone on the point.
This is ridiculous.
We'll see. We've said this about Buffalo in the past. We've gotten excited, and they let us down. So maybe this is the final key to the puzzle, but time will tell.
And you know what? He's going to get a tryout in the NHL next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks. I don't know. I know the size isn't there, but I would not be totally shocked. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Edmonton, number 8.
I mean, they need it, right? I mean, who's going to take a spot, right? It's not like he's battling with anyone for a position anyways, right?
Yeah.
And this is a desperate team that needs to make a playoff run.
Oh, badly.
Yeah.
Badly. Edmonton, 8.
Oh, and by the way, I mean, this Caulfield guy, I mean, where is he? Is he slipping in any drafts, or is he consistently going in that top range?
If he goes below 10, I think there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, like Pronman's got him 10 to Vancouver.
Pronman is a fucking idiot.
10 to Vancouver.
Oh, he's got a generational shot, but let's give him 10 to Vancouver. You fucking
Which
kidding me?
would be pretty fun with Elias Pettersson. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Don't even get me started. That would be... Okay, that's enough.
All right.
They've already got best, so they don't deserve that. Come on. Well, fuck, imagine him with Connor.
It could happen.
It could happen.
They could get Doc or Caulfield.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. Just that thought is exciting.
The best player in the world playing with potentially the next best goal scorer.
Edmonton's getting a good player. I don't think enough people are talking about that.
Like
if you're 8, you're getting a good player.
Yeah. And I'm about to drop it
Doc,
right now.
Caulfield, Zegras, any of those guys you're getting.
Any of those guys
you're getting.
They would hit on. Now, I will say, I know Edmonton probably wanted this to be a dynamic defenseman. Again, just like...
But they just got Bouchard or not.
Yeah, you can't, because the defenseman you take, if you were to take a defenseman here, it would not be the quality as the forward that you would take here.
Yeah.
You can't do it. I know it might be organizational need, but you can't do it. So with 8 for Edmonton, I have Dylan Cousins. my NHL comparable, is Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're pretty darn similar guys. Dylan Cousins slots in as a center first and foremost, can play the right wing. Now, he's an interesting guy for me. I always wanted to fall in love with him, considering he is from the Yukon and all that, but haven't been able to really dive in yet. Every international tournament I've seen him, he's always gets outshined just a little bit, and he's never shown me that real wow factor, that second gear that I've wanted to see from him. Now, that being said, let's not kid ourselves. He's a 6'3", 185-pound centerman with tons of speed, a great shot, and a willingness to use his body. Similar to Doc, he's got that size, but he knows how to use his body. Now, how many teams would kill for a physical specimen like this? And if you were to look at him, and it still looks like he's 12 years old. He's got the face of a fucking baby. It's crazy. So I think he's still got a ton of physical maturing to do. Now, he's a very safe pick in my mind. He's got a very high floor and a guy that can switch to right wing pretty easily. He's been kind of said that he's got quiet skills. Nothing that will make your jaw drop, but skills that the trained hockey eye will love. So this guy's a great skater, as I said. So this is what feeds into the Edmonton kind of need. They want more speed. They want as much speed as they can get. Now they've got a bunch of guys, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, that can play both center and wing, and I think they like that. I think they love that versatility. To me, I see this guy and I think I want this guy on my team in the playoffs. This body, this style of play, this run and gun, shots from everywhere, great shot, little things. This guy's going to be a playoff workhorse. Even if he does only get 65 points in a regular season, I think he can be a serious workhorse in the playoffs. And that's my number 8 for Edmonton.
Yeah, he's one of the first things I told you was he kind of reminds me a little bit of myself.
Sure. Except he can
very good skater.
He can finish.
He doesn't just skate fast. He consistently pushes the pace and plays the game hard. Cousins is not going to do a fancy between the legs kind of play, but he gets by defenders with dekes at full speed, which makes skilled plays to the net and can make plays in small areas. That last part, maybe not me at all.
Small areas?
Yeah, the small area.
Right.
Not so much this past week.
Yeah, little things. These little minor...
Yeah, I have a respect for those guys who aren't the fanciest, don't have the best hands, but the work ethic is there, the speed is there, the tenacious attitude's there. Yeah. I have respect for that kind of player.
He's a simple man.
I liked I liked what I saw from him in the World Juniors. He's just a workman, and I like that about him, and I think he'll fit in admirably with a McDavid. Someone who can push the pace along with him, because that's the problem. The wingers they've had in Edmonton, they've been too slow. You're playing McDavid with all these old, aged veterans like Milan Lucic who just can't keep up. And a guy like this would really help. And he can play center or wing.
I think he's primarily a center, but he can switch to either
right.
wing,
So
which is great versatility.
He gives you flexibility for the Oilers. They'll go and it's just like Draisaitl, right? He's flexible. He can man his own line down the middle, or he can play on the wing. So just to add him to that crop of forwards, it'll be nice. And once those defensemen of theirs develop, because I know they've got them coming, they'll be on the right path. So I disagree with some of these mocks who think they're going to get a defenseman like
a Broberg.
Broberg, yeah. I've seen a lot of Brobergs. I disagree.
They can't risk anything here.
No,
I don't think Edmonton's in a position to take a risk.
I agree.
You need a safe pick like this. This guy is going to be a great number 2. And I think that would be perfect.
Things get risky after pick 8. There's some names there who can really collapse. But if you stick to those top 8 who we've talked about so far tonight, I can't really see any of those 8 guys really, really falling.
I think those 8 guys are going to be in the 8.
No pizza man. No pizza man. They're all gonna do their part, and if Edmonton they get that forward and get McDavid another friend to play with, I think they'll be in a good spot.
Plus, he's a great kid.
And don't forget, this is the first draft of their new GM, the one who came over from Detroit. You got to figure he what he's doing. I trust him.
Yeah.
So let's hope he makes the right move here and takes this player Cousins, or at the very least, if Cousins taken earlier, because I've seen him go as early as 4.
Yeah.
You go with someone else, like we've said, Doc, Caulfield,
One of
Zegras.
these other guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
and you're fine. Just get out of there.
Stick to the top 8.
Get out of there.
Take your pick and fly out of Vancouver.
Put your hat down. Just make the pick and go about your business.
That's it.
Do not draw any attention to yourself. Now, funny thing, the Hockey News mock draft is a joke. They had Cousins going 3rd, and they had Podkolzin going to Edmonton at 8. I turned it off. right away.
Seems like a mock draft that was done 3 months ago.
Yeah. So number 9. You might like this one as well. Anaheim Ducks, the Mighty Ducks, draft Matthew Boldy, a guy who's really grown on me in the past 2 days. I thought nothing of this
American.
guy. Yeah. These guys, man. It's a good year for them. I'll make his NHL comparable a light Leon Draisaitl, and I'll explain here. Boldy flies under the radar as an incredibly skilled and talented guy. He was often the odd man out on that USA power play on that stacked team, but make no mistake, he's an awesome player. He's got great hands, great vision, great scoring in tight. But he's not that great of a skater. He recently hit a major growth spurt, and he's now 6'2". He was like 5'10" like a year ago. So he may still be adjusting to his new body. So watch out for that. It usually takes guys the skill to catch up to the body when that kind of growth spurt happens. So I think he's got sneaky upside. As the veteran forwards on Anaheim start to crumble beneath our eyes, guys like Sam Steele, Troy Terry, and Matthew Boldy and company will take over the reins. So I think there's Matthew Boldy there. Again, odd man out oftentimes, but seriously good player. Flew right under the radar, and he's got the body, he's got the skill, he's really got it all. He's a really good overall. He's like a Swiss Army knife kind of guy.
I read the article.
Wasn't impressed.
I wasn't impressed with one thing of his game. He's not one of those guys who I can just take one part of his game. Seems to me like he's well-rounded. Like he doesn't do one thing terribly. He's just above average in every single respect. And if he's around at 10, you take him. Or 9, you take him. Odd man out, so he didn't really get the best line mates or the opportunity to shine. But, you know, I have nothing else to say about this player. He doesn't have that X factor that I like about these other guys we've talked about. But I see why you have him so high. And I consider 9 to be pretty high when you have guys like, you know, Krebs around there, and you know, I'm sure you'll get to him in a sec.
Yeah, I will get to Krebs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part of the draft where I see the fall off. I see the next tier starting.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We talked about the 8.
This is where it begins.
We talked about the 8, and now we get into 9, and it's this Boldy character. If I were Anaheim, I'm taking Peyton Krebs, but we'll get into that with our Krebs analysis.
For sure. Now, again, if this were a couple weeks ago, I totally would have gone Krebs here, but I think there is a little bit of concern with that.
I've heard reports, no concerns whatsoever.
Really?
Passed all the tests with flying colors.
He did, eh? Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
Turn.
Let's just consider there's some concern for the rest of this mock. Because I know, like, I don't know how severe it was, but I mean, think about this. He's going to have a summer of rehab instead of training. He's going to lose a year of development. It's not that great of a look, especially if you're a team that wants to get.
But was he ready to start in the NHL anyways?
No, but you want to be set up well, and I'll get into him.
I'm not rushing in this draft. Like, I'm not drafting in this draft to get a player 2 years from now. Like, no, I don't care when this player comes, as long as he comes and he's the player that I want.
But you're more likely to get the player you want if he has a full summer of development.
He'll just be a little delayed, but I'm still going to get the Peyton Krebs that they're all talking about. You know.
I don't know.
I don't know, Kyle. I hear Ryan O'Reilly, and a light goes off in my head, and I'm like, give me Peyton Krebs. If I'm LA, I'm trading up to get Peyton Krebs. I want Peyton Krebs and Bowen Byram on my team.
I would if Krebs were healthy and Caulfield went to Buffalo, I would take Krebs for Edmonton instead of Cousins. If he were full, if this never happened, I'm paying a little bit more mind to this injury. Maybe that's a mistake, but that's just how I'm going about it.
So you're about to get into 10, correct?
Number 10.
So this is the part where I interject and say you are already going to go wrong in your mock.
Maybe, yeah.
Breaking news from Pierre Maguire. He knows for a fact that a team is taking Spencer Knight in the top 10.
No.
Yep. It's how he has talked to a representative of this team's scouting staff. And they have a pick in the top 10, and they're saying we're taking Spencer Knight with our pick.
Do you want to debate on who the fuck it could be? It's not Anaheim.
See, I don't know if it's even worth debating because he's given false news in the past. This is a guy who said that Jeff Skinner's going to Calgary last draft.
But how could he stick his neck out like this? He wouldn't do this.
I'll dig up the tape for you.
There's no way he goes in the top 10.
I'll dig up the
Nick.
tape. They said we'll take him top 10. He said there's a team in the top 10 who will take it.
It's not Vancouver. It's not Anaheim. How could it be Edmonton? Edmonton needs a goalie, but really, you can't do that. You can't do that. They can't do that.
Edmonton needs a goalie. Detroit needs a goalie.
Buffalo,
you could argue, needs a goalie.
LA doesn't. Colorado
would
never take him at 4. Would never take him. Sure. He's not going in the top 5.
Like he said top 10. He didn't.
This is ridiculous.
He didn't say top 10, and we just.
I don't buy this.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see if this is another Jeff Skinner screw up or if this is the truth.
Again, like you said, Nick, after 8, I think they're so close, this crop, that we're now starting to look at picking for organizational need rather than best player. So this one might surprise you. At number 10, Vancouver takes Moritz Seider. At number 10.
Shocking.
I actually don't have an NHL comparable for you. I was thinking like a Shea Weber with not the shot and perhaps a little bit better feet. Here's what I have to say about Seider at 10 for Vancouver. Now, this is completely a rational move. Quinn Hughes is the future of the Vancouver Blue Line, and Seider will be his running mate. With talk of Edler being out, a perfect tandem could form with Hughes and Seider. He's a steady, stay-at-home defenseman who is very mobile and intelligent for his size. A no-frills pick. We're not excited about this, but he's a very intelligent one for the future of the organization. You've got a lot of talent on forward now. You've got some really nice pieces in your top 6. I think with Edler gone, you're kind of leaving Hughes on an island on the back end. He's already 6'3", 208 pounds, which is fantastic, and he'll bring a solidifying force to the Vancouver Canucks.
This was one of the first names I heard about going into the draft, courtesy of Gordon Miller, who was at the World Championships down in Slovakia.
He was great.
And no, well, you didn't really believe it. I told you that Gordon Miller mentioned a guy who's 6'4", who skates like the wind. And you were like, who's that? And I was like, Maurice Seider. You did, and you were like, who?
No, I didn't say that.
You were maybe you didn't say that, but you were like, you weren't high on this player.
I was not.
Certainly not high enough to put him in your top 10. And yet here
you said he was going to Montreal, and I said, go to hell.
I said Montreal might get him, and I still believe Marc Bergevin would run up to that stage and take him if he's still there.
I know who Montreal's picking.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of good guys who they can take, but this could have been one of them. But again, you don't get a lot of built guys like this who can skate like that. That's like Victor Hedman and it doesn't come often. Seth Jones, Victor Hedman kind of mold. He probably won't be that good, but he just fits that mold, and just hearing that's very enticing. So when I heard someone like Gord gushing about this guy, I immediately jumped on the bandwagon. So sign me up for Maurice Seider. I'd love to have him. Heck, if I get a forward and I'm LA at 5, I'll happily take this guy with my second pick.
For sure. Yeah. Just again, no frills. He's going to get the job done. Defensive guy with who can move.
Because
what else do you want?
There's this second tier of defensemen, right? You have the one tier to just Byram, and then this whole other tier, huge
Soderstrom,
tier. Right?
Broberg,
Soderstrom,
York,
this guy, Cam
Harley.
York, Harley. Those last three are my favorite defensemen. The York, Harley, and the Sider are my three favorite defensemen, all for different reasons. No particular order. I think it just comes down to team need, like you mentioned. And for Edmonton, you already have the puck mover, so you don't really need a Cammy York. I think Sider fits the mold better there. So I see the fit there. I just don't know he's going this early, but we'll see.
Fair enough. Just for the record, TSN had him at 11.
Good.
Not 10.
That's good.
So, Philadelphia at number 11. I kind of looked at... I don't like picking this guy. I really don't. I kind of wanted them to take a forward, but again, to me, picking defensemen right now is super boring. But I just look at Philly and I see they have a lot of guys either developing or coming up, like Morgan Frost. Nolan Patrick's developing. You got tons of good forwards. I don't think that's the problem. So that's why I take Victor Soderstrom at number 11. I kind of see Soderstrom as kind of a Roman Josi light. You know, he's a defense first kind of guy. He's very, very well rounded.
You're going really off the board with this one, eh?
No.
Oh yeah.
He does everything relatively well. Still has an offensive side to his game, and he isn't afraid to make use of it. Now the main reason here is with the rumor that Shane Gostisbehere is being shipped out, and the high level of talent that's developing in Philly's forward group. I see this as a nice fit to really solidify their roster. I mean, let's be honest. The Philadelphia problem last year wasn't really the scoring, it was the defense. And I think Soderstrom, if they're going to pick a defenseman and Sider's off the board, I think Soderstrom's the best guy to really solidify this defense as a let's calm things down and not have Carter Hart barraged with 1 million pucks kind of thing. But if you're looking at Pronman's rankings, then yeah, I'm off the board because Pronman's a fucking dumbass.
TSN 19.
Whatever, I've seen him at 9. I have seen him.
Which is very interesting.
Well, we already said it was a pick'em. Don't you think Philadelphia could use a defenseman? Or do they need another forward?
Pronman has him ranked 27th.
He's an idiot. I'm telling you, he's an absolute dumbass. Do you think Philadelphia could use a defenseman?
I mean, they just acquired Matti Niskanen, right?
They're shipping out Gostisbehere.
And who else did they acquire? They just acquired someone else. A very stout defenseman. I like what they're doing. They just made two moves. Yeah, they acquired Braun today. So they acquired Braun.
They acquired Braun?
Yes.
Now, how long's Niskanen going to be there?
I'm just saying, those are 2 top 4 defensemen in my mind, who they just acquired. Yes, they are. Justin Braun is a 3-4 defenseman.
He's a 5'6".
On a Stanley Cup team.
5'6".
Niskanen is a 3-4 defenseman on a Stanley Cup team.
Are they part of your core of defense for going? Let me ask you this,
He might be going to Montreal from what I heard. We'll see.
Nick.
Who's
Are
the
Niskanen and Braun
Who's the Russian?
part of your core? Yes.
They're gushing full of defensemen right
They're
now.
getting rid of Gostisbehere.
They're gushing full of defense. They've got the goalie of the future right now. And when you look at the center depth, it's not exactly clicking, is it?
TSN had Sider going to Philadelphia. How do you explain that?
See, like the fact that like Nolan Patrick hasn't really turned into Nolan Patrick yet makes me
Give
think
him some
why not?
time.
Maybe they'll get
Christ,
us. Maybe
he's 20. No, they won't. How could you have Morgan Frost, who was fucking 150 points in the fucking OHL, back-to-back 100-point seasons? You're set, man. You've got Giroux, Couturier, Konechny, Patrick, like Voracek. You don't need more forwards. This is crazy. You've got one of the best prospects in hockey coming.
Boldy's going to Philly.
Well, he's not going to be available.
Well, they're saying
I would take Boldy as well if he was available, but he won't be. Oh, sure, I know, but that's the nature of a mock.
I wouldn't be surprised.
We can't get to
I
comparing
wouldn't be
mocks.
surprised if they don't take.
I would not be surprised either, but I think they need a defenseman.
two moves, I'd be with you. But
he's not they're not core players.
They are. Justin Braun's a core player.
For how long is he going to be there realistically? Soderstrom won't be there for another 2 or 3 years. Are those two players going to be there? No, they won't. Not both of them, at least.
We will see. I'm just saying, if they go forward, I will not be surprised.
No, neither will I. But I just think that's their biggest need. 12, Minnesota. Minnesota.
An ugly pick. Minnesota has dissipated to one of the ugliest teams in the NHL.
That's exactly why I don't like sending my boy to this team.
Ooh.
Not at all.
That's sad.
Alex Newhook. Alex Newhook is Taylor Hall light, but at center.
Yeah.
So he's a light Taylor Hall at center. I think that a team will fall in love with this guy and take him earlier than this. To be honest, I think that he's a very lovable guy in some respects. He's the most Canadian prospect of the entire draft. Born in Newfoundland, lived in Aurora, Ontario, and then played junior in BC. This guy is unbelievable. His speed alone is top 3 in the draft. He has excellent agility as well, with Hughes-like ability to keep his feet working in conjunction with his hands. He's got an excellent hands-feet connection. Great shot, great passer, can be a little lost in his own zone, I'll admit, but as many young kids are. He was cut from the Hlinka Gretzky tournament. That was the tournament where Lafreniere led the team in points and they won. But then was likely the best player at the U18 championships just recently, ahead of Cousins and Krebs. He led the BCHL in scoring as a 17-year-old, but some teams are scared off because he didn't quite have the same production in terms of pure numbers as a Tyson Jost.
Well, and not to mention he's playing in a this is where the leagues play a factor, right?
Yes.
He's playing in a tier 2 league.
Well, that's why.
Not playing in the OHL, the Q, or the WHL.
That's the only reason he's at 12. Otherwise, he'd be way up.
Yeah, it's weird.
And the thing is, Tyson Jost obviously went 10 in 2016. Technically outproduced Alex Newhook in his year. That's why teams will be a little scared because Jost hasn't panned out yet. But seriously, he's got the potential of a number 1 center, and I think Minnesota's going to need that very, very soon. He's going to Boston College, not Boston University, which is a good program, and I think he could really, really benefit from 2 good years in the NCAA. He's going to be a very well-rounded player.
High reviews skating, high reviews hockey sense, and those are the 2 things I value the most. So I agree with the numbers here. I watched the feature that talked about his time at St. Andrews College in Aurora, then moving to Victoria and playing out there. A good story, seems to have good character, and he fits the bill with the qualities he checks off. I'd happily draft him as an LA King fan with my second pick, but I don't think he'll last that long, unfortunately.
No.
So
I could see him going to Anaheim.
Yeah, maybe he goes to Anaheim. He's going to go to a team that's getting old and speed, and that's why Minnesota fits the bill. A team that's very slow. Dying veterans like Parise are getting shipped out. They're already
dying.
Yeah, I mean they're done. They're done.
Oh
they're
my
done.
God.
I mean you got youngsters on defense already like Dumba.
Yeah.
I could see them going forward, and I could see them getting a guy like Newhook. So I will
need him,
I won't contest that.
If he's there, I think he's gone. Like as much as I want him to fall to Montreal, I don't think
Not
it's
going to
happening.
happen.
But some guys like your boy probably have him at 19.
Nope, he's got him at 11.
Some guys have him at 19, which is Button had him at 19, I think. Fucking
Interesting.
Idiot. Florida number 13. This is where I have
Cronman's got him. He's his 11th ranked skater, but he's got him going 17th to Vegas.
What an idiot. What an idiot. We're here talking about, he won't last to 12. 17. Wow. Bullshit.
This draft, right?
Yeah, I guess.
One of these guys is going to slide. It's gonna be that awkward moment where he's sitting with his family.
That's why.
He's crying before he's picked because he hasn't been picked. And it's round 20 and he's still not picked. Someone's going to be that guy, and I don't know who it's going to be.
That is why I have Krebs sliding, because if all are similar, why take the guy with the injury? Why would you do it?
Because the character is elite.
I know, but if everything else is equal, if I'm going, I love Krebs' character, but he's not as talented as Newhook.
I hope
then
he
why
falls.
am
I hope
taking
he
Krebs?
falls. L.A.
He'll fall right to fucking Montreal, I'm telling you. All right, number 13. This is where I take Spencer Knight, the goaltender. NHL comparable, take your pick. I say Jonathan Quick. Spencer Knight, Nick, this guy is unbelievable. He's everything you want in a goalie. Size, reflexes, athleticism, and character. You're going to love this. He crushed the combine on every level. The guy's a freak athlete. Absolute freak. He also crushed his interviews on every level. Character through the roof. How could you not take him, right? He has the numbers to prove he is awesome as well. He's the closest thing to a surefire goalie that you can possibly find. Now, why would he go this late, you might ask, or this early? A lot of pundits would say, oh, he played on this all-star USN TDP team. Of course, he didn't face a lot of shots. Of course, his numbers are good. He wasn't challenged. Take that as you will. Whatever you want to do, I think he's a fantastic goalie. He's a Carter Hart level prospect in terms of goalies. No, I will no, not better. He'll likely take a minimum of 2 years to make it to the NHL, which is extremely quick. Will be just on time for a Florida team that's not quite ready yet, but they're getting there. They're getting there.
So this is even if they sign
Bobrovsky to a 7-year deal.
I don't think you go into the draft assuming that. Well, no,
Maybe
of
it could be
course.
done. The deal could be done.
If you sign Bobrovsky, of course you're not taking Knight. But I don't think you rely on the Bobrovsky signing. But I just look at Luongo and Reimer, and I'm going, maybe squeeze Reimer for 2 more years, and then let's actually get serious. Because you can't be serious if with those two guys. You can't be.
Yeah, and
Luongo's
it
40.
fits their theme, right? Because this has been a good team.
Skater-wise every year, right? They're getting plenty of goals.
Yeah.
They're
6, which is great. The defense isn't bad at all, right?
On paper.
on paper, but the goalies have let them down every year, right?
Yeah.
Reimer hasn't helped at all, and Luongo's going to hang him up in a year or
Injury
two.
prone.
Injury prone. He fits the bill. I'd love to see him go to Florida. I want to see him on an East.
Those teams, so I can watch him every night, because I really think he's a pleasure to watch. I see
See the clips, and he moves around the crease like a spider.
Yeah.
other goalies, they don't move like this. Carter Hart doesn't move like this. Carter Hart's more.
Carey Price.
He's better.
Just stable, in control. Spencer Knight's got
That is just his mobility in the crease
Athlete.
is amazing.
Crazy.
I've never seen anything like it. He makes what should be hard saves.
Incredibly easy because he's always in the right position at the right time, and when he isn't in the right position,
He's sliding over from end to end and just making forwards.
silly. Who are getting robbed each and every night. So I love this goalie.
I mean, I don't really have a preference
For where he goes. So yeah, I mean Florida.
Florida seems to fit the bill, and if he goes past Florida, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Colorado.
At 16. So time will tell, but as
Pierre said, this is the next Marty Brodeur, and if that
means one thing, it means this kid's going to be a Hall of Famer. So if you want a Hall of Famer, pick him.
like we debated earlier, Pierre says top 10.
Which is, yeah, we'll see what happens. Is crazy. And yet, it's funny, if he does go in the top 10, of course, someone slides. We'll have to see who these sliders are. But, again, when I looked at the Combine results, I was shocked. He kept coming up, top 5, top 5, top 5, every single category. I was like, this guy's a fucking freak. So I'm sold on him. I wasn't sold before, but everything started adding up, and I was like, all right, I see it.
Will apparently be the greatest American goaltender of all time.
High praise.
Okay. Who said that? Pierre?
Lots of people.
Okay.
McKenzie.
Yeah. It's just so hard to predict goalies. That's why they don't get chosen this early, ever.
Very true.
Ever.
And if they go to a
Shitty team, who doesn't defend well, then his numbers will look bad, and then everyone will go, well, shit, this guy's a shitty player.
Yeah.
It'll be the most fascinating transition in the NHL. Like, these forwards, these defensemen, yeah, we'll watch them. It'll be interesting. But however his first season goes in the NHL will be the most fascinating of any of these players in my opinion. We're going to have to wait a couple of years, but when it happens, it's going to be fascinating.
So number 14 with Arizona. Now these two picks, I probably screwed.
They could
with.
take the goalie, right, if he falls Arizona.
They could.
Right, Auntie Ron,
Sure.
He's not exactly a franchise goalie.
He's relatively young, though, is he not? Relatively.
I don't know.
Now, this pick I screwed with just to make my Montreal pick a little bit sweeter. So I'll admit this one had some tampering, but for good reason. Arizona selects Arthur Kaliev. Now, you might be thinking, why the fuck would Arizona want this Russian
Hamilton
schmuck?
Bulldogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Arthur Kaliev is line A without the deadly shot. Not quite as good as that shot. Kaliev is the second best goal scorer in the entire draft. He's a truly polarizing pick. He's got incredible skills and a really, really nice release, but can get really lost out there, as many Russians do, and can lack effort at times, which many Russians do. So that being said, he's a big right winger who can make an excellent complement for a really skilled centerman. With proper coaching, and that's the main thing, and this guy will have to be coached really intelligently. You don't want to scare him off to Russia. He can be one of the bigger steals of this draft. Now I look at Arizona and I see two very skilled future centermen in Keller and Barrett Hayton coming in. Now either one of these guys, if they start to click with Kaliev, then you could see a 30, 35 plus goal guy every year. He's like, just looking at the OHL metrics in terms of comparables, how Kaliev has scored, he's right up there in the top 10 goal scorers coming out of the OHL in terms of the last fucking 15 years. He's really, really a talented guy in terms of putting the puck in the net. Now, I said polarizing because he can be that 35 plus goal scorer. He can be the second best scorer in the draft, or he could be a nobody. He could disappear into nothing. He could be a lazy schmuck who doesn't work on his game and who doesn't, fit the NHL style because he doesn't, put in the work and he's lazy. So we just got a notification here. Kevin Hayes. Did you see it?
No. My notifications are off.
Kevin Hayes signs a 7-year deal worth.
So
he was with the Rangers, right?
He was with the Rangers, got traded to Winnipeg. Winnipeg traded his rights for a 5th-round pick to Philly.
he signed with Philly.
He just signed with Philly.
Wow.
7 years, $50 million. AAV 7.14. That's steep.
4?
Steep. So do you still think they're taking
No,
forward?
they're taking it.
There you go. Soderstrom, baby. That's overpayment. I'm sorry.
Voracek, JVR,
Couturier, Patrick, Frost.
who's the Konechny,
What the fuck?
and now Hayes.
This is ridiculous. They're so loaded on forward. Fuck.
2 defensemen, Braun,
They're
and
loaded.
they're going for the playoffs.
They're making.
We've said it every year.
Oh.
They don't find a way.
They're gonna make
They don't find a way.
Holy shit. Now I heard Couturier is on the block.
Still.
Why? I have no idea.
Value just
Assuming they don't make any more moves.
This team is incredible.
No, of course you're going to say
say that. But
They are. They are.
I think they see the Metro as a wide
open gap. There's not really a top dog, right? It's not like
Yeah.
the
Atlantic. Right? Anyone in that Metro could win the Metro. It's wide open.
This is insane.
They see
this. How many years is that deal?
7.
Wow.
At 7.1.
Yeah, when you said 7.1, I'm like, okay, maybe 4 years, maybe 5
That's overpayment.
But 7 is, how old is he?
Like 27, 28, 26
It's
maybe.
a lot of money for a guy who, when he came to Winnipeg, didn't really deliver. Let's face it.
55 guy, 55 point guy. Like, fuck that. I'm not taking that shit. I don't like this.
The market, what these free agents are going to make now with that deal?
Yeah.
No, Marner's getting 9.
He's getting 11.
Yeah.
He's getting 12.
That's amazing.
Anyways.
That's amazing.
Kaliev at 14.
Center depth on this
Philly team is
Oh,
crazy
stupid,
now.
Stupid.
Wow. Yeah, Kaliev. I mean, what do you want me to say about him? I mean,
when I read this thing about him, I just turned my head. The main concern with Kaliev is his
compete level.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate concern, and there are others. But as one NHL scout said
recently, you have to be careful not to write off players too soon. So we'll see what happens. But
I mean, I don't like hearing things about your compete level, but then again, they've got a very good coach
there in Arizona, a player's coach, who might be able to right the ship here.
So we'll see. I kind of like
it's the right coach, and it might be a good fit. A smaller market, less attention from
media in Arizona. This could be the right place for him. So we'll see what happens.
I saw the shot. It's an impressive shot. I see the goal-scoring ability. Very impressive.
But again, he could drop.
Yeah, he could. Yeah. Now the reason why, and
Maybe like a Merkley, right?
Yeah.
Just because of his compete level.
there's a serious reason why I didn't take Krebs in this spot. Now imagine this, Nick, for a second. Arizona's done a decent job, I guess, drafting guys in the last couple of years. Now, they don't really have a sniper, let's be honest. Keller's a playmaker. Hayton's going to be a playmaker. Those are your top 2 centers. Why would you want to add a Peyton Krebs, who honestly is a playmaker first? You don't. You can't really. I mean, he would fit. Sure, he would do his best to fit in whichever way he can. But I think they're in need of that. Let's get a sniper. Let's get a guy who's going to just throw the puck into the net. That's insane.
Just rolling through the Philly depth chart now.
It's insane.
After the moves of today.
The top 3 lines look star caliber.
Star.
Giroux, Konechny.
Hayes, Voracek, JVR.
I forgot about JVR.
I forgot about
Ryan Hartman.
Oh, this is insane.
Ryan Hartman and Oscar Lindblom. The 4th line, I don't really care.
And then the D, Provolov and Sanheim, Gostis,
Beer and Braun. Niskanen's on your 3rd pairing with Robert Hagg.
This is impressive. Yeah, I mean,
the only concern I have is if this goaltending can hold up. I mean, if Carter Hart can
really elevate his game in only his 2nd season, I think that's what's going to dictate this year.
A guy like Neuwirth will give him some veteran
support, but I really think this is going to come down to Carter Hart. I think it's very easy
to say this team makes the playoffs, given the wide open gap in the Metro that we just talked about.
But to me, this team looks solidified at the forward and the D position.
And they're just going to need some good goaltending here, and that's why it's going to ultimately fall onto Carter Hart.
It's going to be a huge test for him. We'll see if he plays 60 games. Does he play 55? Does he play 50? Where does he fall into the the goalie start chart there? But once again, it'll be ultimately the season of Carter Hart. So without further ado, we'll move on here. We're almost wrapping up our top 16. We move on to Kyle's beloved Montreal Canadiens. At number 15, it's going to be very interesting to see where they go here. Kyle, I'm sure you have many thoughts on this. Montreal, Marc Bergevin steps up to the podium at 15.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the 15th pick.
Okay.
Montreal has 15, right?
Yeah.
So with the 15th pick, Marc Bergevin will step up to the podium. Sorry, Marc Bergevin will not step up to the podium. Trevor Timmins will, the head of amateur scouting, will step up to the podium, and he will make a selection. Who will he select with the 15th overall pick?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh. Trevor Timmins, the Montreal Canadiens, We'd like to thank Vancouver for its hospitality. Oh, they select Peyton Krebs.
Wow.
Because he's still on the board.
So the best available player methodology, not
Correct.
necessarily the team need.
They will look at Krebs and go, I can't believe he's still there, and we need to take him because we'd be stupid not to. Now, Krebs, my comparable is that Jonathan Taves, Ryan O'Reilly type. It's an unfortunate that the Achilles injury dropped him down on my board, but he would have been up there in the 7 to 10 range had he not gotten that injury. He's got character through the roof. This is a future captain type of player. Krebs does it all. He does all the little things right and some of the big things too. He's a relentless Gallagher-like work ethic with speed and skill to boot. He's 5'11", but plays like he's 6'3". He's a creative playmaker with the ability to thread seam passes, saucer passes, and range passes. This guy can pretty well pass in any way you want. He had pretty disappointing numbers, but he was the only good player on by far the worst WHL team. So you can kind of take that with a grain of salt. Like, he was a minus 50, but at the same time, he's a great two-way player. It's because the team was so darn bad. He's dependable, but will not blow you away with any of his skills. Nothing's going to jump out at you with this guy. This is a guy you really want in the playoffs. You want him really bad because he'll do anything that it takes to win. Now, I think Montreal would prefer a defenseman in round one, but cannot pass up a chance on a guy like Krebs. Really interesting tidbit to note, which is very, very important, whether or not for Krebs, whatever. But his team from Kootenay has moved over to Winnipeg. They're called the Winnipeg Ice now. Krebs will be playing with the best prospect since McDavid for the next year. Matthew Savoy has recently signed for the Winnipeg Ice, and he'll take him under his wing, so he should have a lot more success and will be exposed to some extreme talent next year. So that's my hopeful, God willing Montreal pick there.
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked. I mean, based on all the articles I read on The Athletic with the writers from Montreal, it was all signs are defensemen. And it was that pack of Seider, Cam York, Harley. That's kind of where they were going to go with this pick. And so, to me, hearing this is kind of, off the reservation table, as Pierre Maguire would say for sure. But then again,
this is not a fit for Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. He might say that. He might
I can't wait.
He might drop that line yet again.
Watch him turn into the next O'Reilly. This is not a fit for Montreal.
We'll see.
Hey, listen, I have some insider knowledge saying that Montreal will select Lassie Thompson. Now, Nick, who's Lassie Thompson? Do you know?
No.
I have no idea. Finnish defenseman out of the OHL. Lassie Thompson will go 15 to Montreal. You heard it here first. But I got that from someone else.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there's another position they need, it is at the center position. But again, very recently we've seen with guys like Domi and Suzuki, slowly they're starting to build around that center position. So
sure.
I don't know if the need and the desperation is that high now.
But he's a winger as well, though.
I think it's more desperate. You get a defenseman because
how can you
what
pass
do you
on
have?
a character like this?
You just signed Carl Alsner to the worst free agent contract in that entire free agent class. He's not even the NHL anymore.
Nick, you're looking at a guy with Gallagher-like work ethic, but much more skilled.
Who's going to help you on
Who's
going to help you on D? How are you going to make the playoffs this year?
You want character like this.
How are you going to make the playoffs this year?
You will make the playoffs with Josh Brook coming up. You'll make the playoffs with Cale Fleury coming up. Obviously, you want defense, but
I'd like to see this kid.
Hey, Peyton Krebs has the ability to go 7th overall. If he's at 15, you take him.
I'd like this kid to go to a Canadian market, whether it's Vancouver at 10 or Montreal at 16. I want this to happen. And I hope it does. And I'd be happy if he goes to Montreal. I'll just be surprised. I'll just be surprised they're not addressing a team need at defense, especially when there's a plethora of choices there. This Harley kid is a stud.
I want Harley.
He's a stud. He's a stud. He's got character beyond the roof. And just the way he plays, I'm a big fan. So I for one think Montreal might go with a guy like him, but, prove me wrong.
Montreal takes a defenseman unless Krebs or Newhook is sitting there.
Right.
If
Newhook's
either
the
of
other
those
one
two
I
guys,
saw.
then they're
Then
taking
they might
him.
take him, yeah.
They have to. You can't let guys like that go.
It's going to be
15,
very interesting.
At 15, you're hitting a home run times 4 at that. If you're taking
It's a
one of
tough
those guys.
part of the draft to draft at for sure.
Sure.
Because there's so many variables in play and so many things that happen before you that you can't control. And
Yeah.
that they must have like 7 possibilities, right?
Sure.
Of what simulated potential things that can happen that will dictate their decision. So it's a very fascinating position to be drafting at, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah. It'd be
Again,
great. A
it's
heart and
gonna
soul
be an
guy to
amazing-
Montreal would be great. Peyton Krebs to Montreal would be great.
Exactly. That's the thing. And you need character guys to play in a market like that. So, again, the draft is going to be high octane, surprising, all over the board. This is going to be amazing. So 16, Colorado, which is my final pick. Colorado, considering they took Kirby Dach at number 4, shore up that 2C, they can afford to take a swing on a polarizing guy. Vasily Podkolzin.
Wow.
Now,
You must be mad about this
Did you
pick.
expect Kyle to pick
Hell no. I
Podkolzin?
thought he'd slide out of the 16 for you.
No, exactly. But there's a lot to like about this guy. Nick, this guy's a Zach Hyman with more skill. He's like a Nick.
I can skate. This guy can't skate.
He can skate.
No.
He can skate.
I've watched clips of him skating. When he skates, it's like he's lifting his feet into the air. Like, it's the most awkward skating
He's a relentless
I've seen
skater.
in my life. It's so inefficient. The way he skates is so inefficient.
He's a
It's
relentless
house league.
skater.
It's house league skating.
No, it's not.
It's below NHL average skating. It's sad.
Nick?
There are few. This guy might be the slowest player in the draft.
No, he's not slow.
When it comes from just being stationary to
He's
having
not
to
slow.
skate, extremely slow.
He's not slow. So
This is not a good pick, Kyle. This is not a good look.
TSN had the same pick.
I disagree. I'll be shocked.
Nick?
I'll be shocked.
You're crazy, and I'll tell you why in a second. Let me just read my blurb. Colorado can afford to take a swing on this guy because they already drafted at number 4. Like I said, he's a polarizing guy. A future fan favorite for his work ethic.
Yes.
He's a relentless skater with a strong motor. He has shown he can be skilled, but usually defaults to a simpler game, partly explaining why he failed to produce any decent numbers in the MHL. Now, here's the thing. Now, don't start. He played at the World. His play at the World Juniors vaulted him into the top 3 prospects, where he outplayed Hughes and Kakko. This player, Nick, for most of the year, he was a top 10 player. Some of the year, he was a top 3 player, and some people still have him in the top 10. His ceiling, I think, is about an 80-point workhorse. His floor is a guy who moves back to Russia and disappears.
It's the ugliest skating form I've ever seen. It's this
Doesn't matter.
big heel kick for some reason, and it's just awkward. I don't know.
Nick, he outplayed Hughes and Kakko.
We'll see. This was a guy who was going 3rd overall for most of the season.
Exactly. There's got to be a reason for that, isn't there?
Oh, look how ugly that is. Don, look at that.
There's tons of guys who have him going to Edmonton at 8.
A heel kick, Kyle. You were making fun of Kotkaniemi for his skating. This
No.
is miles below Kotkaniemi.
He's a relentless skater. He's a
Quote,
Zach Hyman with
quote,
skill.
Everything about Podkolzin's game is a plus, if not a major plus, except for his skating,
Big deal.
which is mediocre at best, and I grade it as below average. His stride has a technical flaw, with a significant heel kick where he doesn't extend his legs out, but he's hunched over and his feet kick backwards. Sounds like a chicken skater to me.
So you're telling me if he fixes that one problem with a fucking NHL skating coach that he would be a top 10 player? That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like he's a surefire top 10 if he fixes one problem.
This isn't a team that's afraid to draft Russians or have Russians on their team. We've seen that with Big Z Zadorov.
It's a team that can afford to swing.
We've seen that with Varlamov. They've had Russians in the past. Maybe they'll own this guy. For me, I'd rather have Spencer Knight at 16.
He's not going to be available.
If he's available, I'm taking Spencer Knight.
According to Pierre,
he's not
gone.
available. But if he's available, I'm taking Spencer Knight. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So yeah,
that's an odd one. That's an odd one to finish this segment of yours.
No. Here's the thing: if I listen to one team's personal podcast every single day, the most, it's Colorado, and this is and
they'd be laughing if they got him.
This is a very ideal situation for them. If they go Doc, who is the surefire 2C, and then this guy, who could very well be a legitimate top 6 guy, then they're laughing. Yeah. Absolutely laughing.
All right. Anything else? Any honorable mentions? Or
I do like a guy named Philip Tomasino. I think he's going to go in the 17 to 20 range. Claude Giroux type, super skilled, very raw skill without a lot of development. Again, this is a guy that could go to 16 to Colorado easily. He's got pure skill. But again, flying right under the radar. He's like a Barrett Hayton type who got buried in his lineup, didn't play top line minutes because there was good guys ahead of him. But don't be fooled. He's going to be a great guy.
All right. 3-sentence synopsis of Cam York. Go.
Cam York. Power play quarterback. I think he can. I see him as a Shattenkirk, to be honest. Like one-dimensional, good offensive guy, can run a power play, but don't ask him to do much else.
3-sentence synopsis of Thomas Harley.
Thomas Harley, late birthday, which is really encouraging. He's like a Thomas Chabot. People say he's a little bit easy to play against, but again, I think he was born in like July. So consider him much younger than most of these other guys in the draft. And he's got sneaky good upside considering where he is. Big guy too.
Quick synopsis of Bobby Brink.
I know nothing about Bobby Brink.
Okay. Nothing. I was looking forward to hearing about Bobby Brink. I read some interesting stuff about him.
I don't know, yeah. Late first rounder American. Don't expect me to do much research about him.
All right. And finally, and this one
you've been waiting for, quick synopsis of...
I like this guy. A lot of people hate this guy. This guy looks exactly like Nick without shoulder pads. He is a fucking tall drink of water, this guy. He's 6'4", about 120 pounds. Now, he's not actually that weight, but if you see him like in an interview, he's tiny. This guy is thin as a stick. Now, what does that tell me? It tells me he's got a lot of room to build on that frame. Big guy, power forward. He's a possession monster, beast. He fucking crazy goal scoring in the
Halifax Mooseheads.
Yes, crazy. He got 20 goals in like 23 games. So this guy's legit. He's an older guy in the draft, mind you. Like, he was only like a month or two away from being in the last draft. Keep that in mind. But if all pans out, he could be a very solid power forward. Some guy who you want him kind of mucking around in your corners and holding on to the puck.
Sounds like LA Kings to me. Top possession.
I see him as like a Johansson with a scoring Johansson on the wing.
Yeah.
Ryan Johansson.
If I get him and Bowen Byram, I'm laughing.
Yeah, he's a steal.
Send him over to LA.
I think he's a steal.
You don't think Montreal takes him? Montreal, some
French-Canadian flair. I know it's taking him too high, but...
I want them to take him. I really want that, but everything I've heard says no. Says they don't. I want him to go to Pittsburgh.
So they take a grubby American instead of French Canadian boy.
Mistake. Big
Might
mistake.
happen, right?
Very big mistake. But you don't get 20 goals in 23 games in the playoffs, and it's some sort of accident. He's good.
It's impressive.
Very good.
How did they do at the Memorial Cup?
Lost in the finals to Rayun Naranda, Noah Dobson and company.
Yeah, I got the answers I wanted. Those are the last 4 names I wanted to throw your way. Not so much Bobby Brink, but
Fuck Bobby.
I heard some interesting stuff about him.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, can't really say there's any other guys on this list. I kept looking for a guy with like a major character issue. Like who's the character issue guy of the draft?
Zagras. I'm telling you.
No,
This is the guy.
I mean, I didn't find anything reading, but I'll take your word for it. Brett Leeson had an interesting story.
Yes.
He's been passed up in 2 drafts.
He's like
how does
20.
that work? I thought if you get passed up in a draft, like you're done. Like
No.
you can keep entering the draft. How does this work?
Tanner Pearson missed a draft.
How's this work? Can you if you're 40 years old, can you just be in the entry draft?
No.
Why not?
You have to be under. You have to be 20 and under, like world junior age.
So you can be eligible when you're 17,
Yeah.
right? Get missed on.
No, like 18. You have to be 18 at the time of the start of the NHL season in order to be considered for the draft.
So you get passed on at 18, passed on at 19,
Yeah.
and then you're 20, and this is like your last shot.
You have to start the season as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, which he just fits.
Yes.
So if he gets passed on this time, like it's done. But it's not happening.
Then he could be signed as a
'Cause
free
they're
agent.
they're all saying he's a first.
He could go as like a professional tryout free agent.
Yeah, I was never a fan of the players on play in the World Juniors, but I like the perseverance story. I like the underdog tale. I like just the fact you're coming back after getting passed up on 2 times. You don't hear that often, and I just like the story.
I believe he's a dud.
I like the story.
Yeah, it's a great
It's a
story.
good story.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, with that said, we'll wrap up here. Again, as Pierre says, there's 2 most important parts of the NHL schedule: the day the cup is raised and the NHL draft. And that second date is coming up in 3 days' time. So
I'm fired.
until then, we will touch base with the audience after that. I'm sure there'll be plenty of surprises that will catch Kyle off guard. We'll have the reactions for you at our next episode, which may very well be our last of the season. Still tinkering around with that idea. We definitely want to touch on the results of the draft, as well as whatever shenanigans happen at free agency. But the way it's looking right now, a lot of that's already happening with the Karlsson signing. So until then, until the end of the draft, and until this free agency kind of shakes itself out, we hope you enjoyed this edition, our inaugural 40th episode, a big one for us here at Rink Moose. And until episode 41, this is Rink Moose, signing off.